So today I want to talk about Legend of the Five Rings, which is commonly just called L5R because L5R is a lot easier to say than Legend of the Five Rings. Um, this is a tabletop and a card game. I've never played the card game, so I can't really talk about it too much, but apparently big things happen at Gen Con with it every year, including whoever the places in card tournaments actually develops the lore and the story of the overall universe, which I think is super cool. But I digress. So today I want to talk about Legend of the Five Rings, which is commonly just called L5R because L5R is a lot easier to say than Legend of the Five Rings. This is a tabletop and a card game. I've never played the card game, so I can't really talk about it too much, but apparently big things happen at Gen Con with it every year, including whoever the places in card tournaments actually develops the lore and the story of the overall universe, which I think is super cool. But I digress. We're going to mostly be talking about the tabletop because that's what I really know about, and that's probably why people are here. So I've played L5R for a few editions now. I'm going to be talking about mostly the newer edition, but I'm going to go back to the older edition in case people want to try that out, because the game has changed over time, I think in very positive ways. But there's a few things that just they kind of push to the side that I might bring up, like the different class system in the game. But L5R takes place as samurai. It is a samurai-based game instead of the typical medieval fantasy. If you saw my recent video about Mutants and Masterminds, I talked about how that was a very flexible system that you could use in other games. Legend of the Five Rings is not that. If you're to play L5R, you're going to be playing in that universe. Now, there's a lot of strifes going on. You can there's still variety where if you want to play a heavy war-focused campaign, you can do that with lots of combat. If you want to play tactics and because you are considered upper class, if you want to play a Game of Thrones very political style, you can do that too. There is still a lot of flexibility in the world for what it is you want to do, but you are most it is made to be played in that world. And to kind of move on to character creation, first of all, you are humans. And this is very important because Legend of the Five Rings has two things going on with it that are kind of important to talk about. L5R society, because this is based on medieval Bushido, tends to be very xenophobic and very classist. Which some tables might be more okay playing with, some tables less so, and you can kind of talk to your group about how you want to play into those. There are stories for Legend of the Five Rings about people from other cultures coming over and some of the strife between those. That's one of the reasons why gunpowder is just explicitly banned in the region, because of stories of people with guns coming over. And yeah, there's historical context for all of that, right? The other thing is that this is a very classist society. Now, as Bushido, you are pretty upper class. Now, this is true if you're going to be a samurai, if you're going to be a shugenja, which is a spellcaster, or if you're going to be a courtier, which is a diplomat. Now, newer editions of L5R have moved away from those, but if you're playing older editions, those are your three sort of class systems. Either you're a combatant, you're a priest, or you're a talkie-talkie man. The issue I actually have with this system is that if you have a talkie-talkie person in your group, you have to give them some sort of politics to play with. And the problem is they're going to be miles better at talking than the warriors, because they spent their entire childhood and teenage years training in this. They should be miles better, but from a role-playing perspective, it really if you do too much combat, then the talkie-talkie person feels like they don't get to excel and do anything cool. If you do too much politics, then the people who are really good at stabbing people don't get to feel very good about that. And that doesn't even talk about the whole spiritual priest shugenja people. So newer editions, they've kind of done away with the courtiers as much. And they've done away with a lot of the class bonuses. So that you can kind of build your character as you want, although there's still like guidelines for like who your character should be. Because instead of choosing classes or choosing races, you choose what clan you're from. And this is sort of like regionally dialected, but the different clans in Rokugan take different aspects of Bushido differently. So there might be certain things that are considered more honorable in other clans than others. Some clans might be, more pacifist. Some might be more underhanded. And that's a lot of the strife in a campaign. And you'll have to decide if you want to run an L5R game. Is everybody going to be from the same clan, which kind of makes things a little bit easier? Or do you want people to be playing from different clans, which leads to a little bit more strife between the players? Because some people might want to do more underhanded stuff, and other people might be very honorable and they're not going to be okay with that. But I think that's part of the fun of the system, personally, is that not strong PvP, but a little bit of like player strife. But yeah, you choose what clan you're going to be from. You get some bonuses for that. And then you choose what school in your clan. Because a clan might have multiple schools of Bushido that are going to train its warriors differently. Or they might have different types of like magic in a system. Or there might be a school of monks that you want to take. And everything it's different from a role-playing perspective mostly. There are certain things like your starting bonuses are going to be based on your schools. But if you decide that you want your big duelist guy to also be able to use the bow, there's nothing to stop you from taking ranks in archery to be able to do that. It's just that you're going to be starting off probably with more like Iijutsu like ranks than bow ranks. But you build your characters however you want. The clans. So the clans are really important to the story. They're really important to who your character is. And there's a lot of politicking you can do with the clans. But the clans are all different. So I'm going to give a very extremely brief, this is what the clan is and what like kind of they're known for. Now, I am missing a ton of lore by doing this. Honestly, if the clan sounds good, go to the wiki and just start reading about them. Because there's really cool like stories and you can learn important people. And yeah, I would recommend that's probably the easiest way to get into the system is to just pick a clan and read about them. And that way you get really hyped for at least one of the clans starting off. So just running through this in alphabetical order, we have the Crab Clan. So if you've seen like Game of Thrones where there's like a wall to the north and they tend to keep the dead out, that's sort of what the Crab Clan does. The idea of a northern wall keeping the evil at bay in Game of Thrones is not new. If that ruins like Game of Thrones for some people, I'm sorry, but yeah. To the south of Rokugan is a land of taint and undeath, and the taint is a system that you can either play with a lot or play with a little bit. My group tends to pull back a little bit, but it's kind of like the taint is like a disease of the soul that the Crab Clan keeps at bay. So they tend to be like very militaristic because they're actually, I think they're supposed to be the biggest clan, but because they have this responsibility of keeping evil outside of the region, they don't actually have the most military resources. They're just the biggest, but they can't pull people from the wall or else evil will just take over the entire world. So, but yeah, the Crab Clan's like known for like their engineering, their martial prowess. You can also play some Shugenja, which again are the magic people that specialize against like evil magics. Then we have the Crane Clan. The Crane Clan tends to be the sort of like richer people in the region. They also tend to have the greatest power in like the political courts. So if you really want to play a like the best talkie person, the best diplomat, Crane Clan, like every clan has a talkie person, but the Crane Clan is kind of most known for that. Depending on what time period you're playing in, they also might have the most like control over the oceans of the region. But we'll get into that when we get to the Mantis Clan. Dragon Clan's next. Dragon Clan are sort of the isolationist group. So they're like very not understood. And they tend to do things differently. Like they're the clan. If you want to play a character that like dual wields swords, you probably are coming from the Dragon Clan, because most of them just, two-hand like Bushido. Like the typical samurai is a one-handed sword. Although you are not restricted to using swords either. But I digress. Lion Clan. Lion Clan is your high military tactics. If you want to be a clan where the honorable thing is combat, and that is what you are well known for, and you have the powerful armies, Lion Clan. Lion Clan. We have Mantis Clan. So this is one of the, like, depending on what timeline you're playing in, the Mantis Clan may not exist yet. Pretty much every clan has a representative in heaven that like speaks on their behalf, and that's where the clan was founded. So if you play in a part of the story where the Mantis Clan doesn't have the representative in heaven yet, and there's a huge asterisk in what I'm saying to go quickly, Mantis Clan doesn't exist. Mantis Clan are essentially pirates, though. Although they don't do piratry anymore. We swear we're not pirates anymore. But they are tasked with defending the oceans of Rokugan, especially from any invasions from foreign threats, which you can make an entire campaign about people from another region coming in and trying to invade Rokugan. That's actually, like, there are stories of that happening. So, yeah. Mantis Clan tends to be your, like, sailors and not pirates. Phoenix Clan, if you want to play Phoenix Clan is known as having the most, like, magical people. Depending on what edition you're playing, there are some, like, types of magic that only the Phoenix Clan can play. But in the newer edition, I don't think there are any rules yet for Phoenix Clan. At least when last time my group played Legend of the Five Rings, there were no rules for void magic, which is what the Phoenix Clan does. But the Phoenix Clan are known as being, like, very magical, mystical people. You don't have to be a, like, magic person to be from the Phoenix Clan. They still have their Bushidos and talkie people. That's just kind of what they're known for. Scorpion Clan. Scorpion Clan are the sort of underhanded people. They are the clan that they protect Rokugan and the other clans by doing the underhanded stuff that nobody else wants to do. And there's a lot of stories about, like, the Scorpion the Scorpion Clan betraying the other clans, about them just straight up, like, assassinating people. They aren't supposed to be the bad guys. They're supposed to be the guys that get stuff done that the more honorable clans look down on. They are absolutely necessary. And because of that, I think they have a very good niche in the storytelling for people that want to play tricky, ruffian-type characters. Then we have the Unicorn Clan. Unicorn Clan is your cavalry. A long time ago, the Unicorn Clan was pretty much set out with a mission to figure out what is beyond the borders of the Empire. So they left for a really long time, and when they came back, they had found other people, their cultures had, like, intermingled, and the people from the Unicorn Clan look different. Because they married in and brought with them people from other cultures. And again, this is coming from a fairly xenophobic society, so the Unicorn Clan wasn't exactly welcomed back very well. But the Emperor at the time said, hey, we did make a promise and you came back. You are now a great clan. So the Unicorn Clan can be a little bit strange, but they're not just cavalry. They have with them essentially super horses. Like, the horses in the Unicorn Clan are just bigger and stronger and better than horses everywhere else in the Empire. Depending on what edition, like, you're playing L5R in, your horse is a player character. And I'm not kidding, like, the horses are just that strong. But again, they have like different ways of handling magic, because again, they went out and found other societies and started taking their magical practices. So, like, one of the magic clans for them, I think, is, like, putting magic and spirit into like items and trinkets, which the rest of the world doesn't handle spirituality that way. So it might be looked down on depending on who the character is, but they're different, which is kind of the point. And then the Spider Clan. My group plays with the Spider Clan not being canon. So pretty much what happened, going back a little bit, see if you've been paying attention. Each of the major clans has a representative in heaven. These representatives are mostly like the major clans come from like the children in heaven having like their power. And one of the children did not receive power in Rokugan, and that is the person that created the taint and the evil known in the world. And pretty much they came back and said, hey, everyone else got a seat at the table except me. Why do my brother and sisters get this and I don't? And so, yeah, that's the Spider Clan. The Spider Clan is like, hey, we still have a divine entity to represent us. They deserve a seat at the table too. The reason I dislike the Spider Clan is because when the Spider Clan is introduced, part of that introduction is like the evil god being like, okay, the taint is not spread anymore. It is something you have to willingly accept into yourself, and it will grant you power. The reason for this, though, is that completely changes the mechanics of like evil in the world. When you have these warriors that can fight and suffer like tainted wounds, and eventually like succumb to darkness that way, that is a different narrative than a character willingly accepting evil and it being, to me, less of a threat in the world because it no longer spawns like naturally. It's something you have to find and learn and take. Some people might really like the Spider Clan and want to include them in your story. Go for it. It's your story. You do what you want. My group tends to just play without the Spider Clan. That was actually one of the campaigns I ran for quite a while. That was eventually going to be a story of the Spider Clan being a group of people that had like taken this and they were forming, and they were going to stop the formation of it. So typically we don't allow Spider Clans in our campaign, but you do what you want in your own campaign because you're the ones playing it. And then there's like minor clans, which are smaller groups. They're not as powerful. They may not have as much like territory or as much responsibility, but they still have their own stories. You might look at them and think they're really cool. And there's nothing wrong with playing something from a minor clan. They're just kind of less represented, but you can absolutely play them in cool. The one heads up I'm going to give for minor clans is that I personally like the Wasp Clan. The Wasp Clan are the like grand archers of the region. These are the people that like they typically don't use a sword. They just use a bow for most of their combat. And I don't know. I thought bows were really cool. So when I first got into L5R, I played a character from the Wasp Clan. And depending on your story, the Wasp Clan has been brought into the Mantis Clan, which are like the pirates and stuff. Honestly, you can spend a lot of time with L5R just reading the stories, the characters, the sort of mysticism, the like honestly like even like its take on classes, like classism, I think is pretty interesting. This is one of those like stories that you can really hyper focus on. Like if you first start reading about it and you really get into the system, you could spend weeks just reading and learning about the stories and really get into it. I'm trying to think if I've done my Lancer video yet. I don't think I've done my Lancer video, but I got somebody in my group that's done that for Lancer, where they like hyper fixate on Lancer. So yeah, but that's it. That's L5R. It's a really interesting system. Oh, I didn't even talk about Strife. Oh my god. Okay. So, in the new edition, they've introduced a mechanic called Strife. It complicates things a bit, but I think it's a very interesting mechanic. The idea is that as somebody who has to uphold an image of themselves because it represents themselves, you're representing your family and your clan. The way you behave, the way you appear, it's a very rigid society, right? And this is just Bushido. The idea is that this takes strife on you. It's difficult. And eventually, the stress of it all starts building up. And there are like mechanical hazards for how your character builds up the strife and how it affects them. So you might especially have like a political debate against someone where you're supposed to be calmly talking about a subject and having this like peaceful discussion and upholding your imagery the entire time. But after doing this for a while, somebody who keeps pushing back on you, you start to lose your composure. You start to speak out of line or not as well. And these have mechanical implications. And then there's a system for building up strife, which makes your rolls harder, and then getting rid of strife. So getting rid of strife could be a few things. It could be what your character does in downtime to sort of when people aren't looking at them. How do they like relieve stress in a society where someone is always looking at them and judging them? Or you could have like an outburst. This could be you've been in this political debate for a while, and you just straight up have an outburst and start screaming about something. And this allows you to get rid of all your strife and continue the debate, but have a like role-playing effect of like people in court are going to talk about your outburst, how you like lost your appearance and your demeanor. And I don't know. I haven't played with the system a ton because I've only played one campaign in the newer system. I think it's super interesting though. I think it's an overall very good system to play with. Where there are mechanical consequences for, your character has been debating for hours, or your character has had to go like several weeks of making appearances and it's exhausting, or even how strife builds up in combat. Right, especially in a one-on-one duel, you can spend actions just trying to relieve like your own stress to try to like get better rolls, or you could try to build up your opponent's penalties. You can bring this into essentially every part of the campaign. It's a really cool system. I wanted to bring it up even though it's relatively new. I think it's relatively good. So yeah, if you want to play a campaign with sort of like samurai, a lot of it is very like Japanese focused mythology, magic. The courtiers are kind of done away with in newer editions, which I think is a good system though. Give L5R a try. I think it's if I didn't like it, I wouldn't be making a video, which I'm afraid to look at the timestamp and figure out how long this video is when I'm aiming for like 10 minutes. Yeah, it's a fun system. I think it's worth trying out. And it's one of those, like, hopefully while listening, one of the major clans sounded really good. Just go online to the wiki, look up the clan, and just start reading. You'll learn about the clan. You'll learn about some of their wars, some of their interactions with other clans. So one of the things you can do, like, is just to see, like, what your clan's opinion of other clans is and how they look at you. Because those appearances matter. There's also a system that they've done this for several editions of the book called is it 10 questions? It might be 20 questions. I think it's 10 questions, which are going to be things like, what is your character's opinion of honor? Or like, how did your character like grow up? What are their goals? And it's actually a really good system for building a character out. That you can actually take and use in other campaigns. If you're having trouble fledging out a character fully, take the little 10 question quiz, and it sort of it just helps you like get ideas for your character. It's actually, that's really good. I don't know if that's on the wiki or not, but you could probably find the 10 questions or 20 questions or whatever it is online and run that. I think it's a pretty good tool. I know some people in my group have used that in other like non-L5R campaigns, and that's worked out really well for them. So it's a good tool. Okay. I am past 10 minutes. I'm at 24. Oh my God. Do YouTube stuff. I'm sorry. Thanks. If anybody watched the song, let me know so I feel better about it. I'm sorry. See you. Do YouTube stuff. Bye.